Welcome to week 2 of college football. What did we find out during week 1? Every team has played at least one game. Two teams in the preseason AP and coaches polls, Clemson and LSU, have already lost. TCU dropped out of both polls. Texas Tech showed that the media was correct in not ranking the Red Raiders and that the coaches were wrong for doing so. Deion Sanders has already lifted Colorado up from the gutter of the Pac 12 conference and the Power 5 in general. We will find out more about the Buffaloes at their home opener versus Nebraska. A win there would mean that Colorado is no fluke. A loss by the Cornhuskers could increase the likelihood of a seventh straight losing season in Lincoln. Is the gap between the level of programs at Ohio State and Penn State narrowing? We will not learn anything during the next 2 weeks, as Ohio State will host two out of conference punching bags. Meanwhile, Penn State will host FCS member Delaware, then go on a 3 game tour of the Big Ten West. By the way, Rutgers is tied for first place in the Big Ten East. Have we ever been able to make such a statement? Enjoy the summit while you can, Scarlet Knights. Congratulations to the Duke Blue Devils on their season opening victory over Clemson. It did seem strange that Duke tipped off its basketball season with a game against another Atlantic Coast Conference member. Don't the Blue Devils typically play multiple out of conference games across the United States before starting their slate of conference games? Wait, that was a football game? Duke upset a top 10 ranked opponent in football? What in the name of Krzyzewski happened in Durham on Monday night? Was it a sign of the continuing decline of Clemson's football program after reaching elite status in the 2000 teens? At first glance, the Pacific 12 Conference has looked like a rock band making its farewell tour and going out on the top of its game. The Pac 12 has won all 13 out of conference games so far. 5 of those were on the road. The members have scored wins over a member of the Big 12 and of the SEC. However, the other 11 wins are not as uniformly impressive as those 2 wins versus Power 5 teams. 3 of those victories occurred over FCS opponents. 6 others came at the expense of Mountain West Conference teams. We will have a clearer idea of the apparent strength of the Pac 12 in week 2. The Pac 12 will have 3 matchups against members of the Big 12, as well as 2 matchups against both the Big 10 and SEC. Has the Big 12 weakened since it expanded? The Big 12 only played 2 games versus Power 5 opponents and lost both. The conference's members also endured a defeat to a member of the Mountain West Conference and to the Sun Belt Conference. 7 games are scheduled versus other Power 5 conference teams this week. Those 7 will test the mettle of the Big 12 in its final season with its 2 highest profile members. Speaking of those 2 high profile Big 12 teams about to leave the conference, one of those will participate in the only matchup of teams in the top 20 of both polls. Texas at Alabama. Will it serve as evidence that Texas is ready to compete in the SEC by defeating the most successful program in the SEC and in all of the football bowl subdivision during this century? On the other side, will Alabama make a statement that it is not about to step aside for an uppity newcomer and still is among the top echelon of both the SEC and FBS? The other matchup of teams in the top 25 in Week 2 features Tulane hosting Ole Miss. 3 questions I have going into this game. First, can Tulane continue the momentum from last season in which it won the American Athletic Conference and a New Year's Six Bowl? Second, can Ole Miss rebound from losing 5 of its last 6 games in 2022 after starting 7-0? Third, will Tulane manage to have more fans in the stands than the visiting Rebels? That is all for this week. Check back next week for your shot of insight on college football with a heavy chaser, Snark.